Cabramatta High School is in the southwest of Sydney. It's a very vibrant school, incredibly multicultural and rich in cultural diversity. So we are a school in the local area for everybody, from all sorts of backgrounds, abilities, and just a very diverse nature of student population. Since I've been principal for the last 11 and a half years, I've seen a whole range of funding models within the Department of Education and the New South Wales Department, ranging from PSP to DSP, equity funding, through to specific grant funding, through to national partnerships, which was probably the first time that a significant equity funding came through to schools, and now through the Gonski model of part of the RAM funding. So I've seen a whole range of funding models based around equity because our school is in a low socioeconomic area that attracts equity funding. The differences with the funding models over a period of time has often been in what's been attached to the funding and how to obtain the funding. What are the parameters set? And so in the early stages, the parameters are set very much around 4 or 5 key areas, such as literacy, such as numeracy. And you needed to write programs to gain funding in those areas, even though the school was entitled to funding. Later, through national partnerships, it was very much based on data collection and whole school analysis and whole school consultation to work out what was needed in a school. And we were told to think differently and think outside the square and go beyond what is done before. And that has led nicely into Gonski funding, which allows you to have a greater scope of looking at what the school needs, what students' needs are, and designing programs and projects that suit that make a real difference to student outcomes, not an artificial difference, not a piecemeal difference, not a difference somebody else has decided that's required, but a real difference to the future of those students. With the Gonski funding through the RAM allocation, our school has been able to go beyond what we've done in the past. It's not about repeating and adding more of what we've already done. It's about going beyond that. It's about thinking differently. One of the things that we've done that's made a significant difference is we now employ a speech therapist 2 days a week to work with students on language acquisition and language ability all the way through from Year 7 through to Year 12. That has had an amazing impact on not only the students' ability to be able to understand text and communicate in their classrooms, but their ability to be able to do examinations, their ability to be able to relate with peers, their ability to be able to understand what the teacher really wants from them. And this is something that our students wouldn't have had access to in the community. Firstly, for diagnosis, and secondly, for program implementation. Because I've been able to employ the speech therapist, or the school has been able to employ the speech therapist for 2 years now, we are seeing a huge difference in student outcomes. So that's quite a significant approach that we wouldn't have done otherwise, because we wouldn't have had the funding. It would have been tied to something else. We wouldn't have been able to think outside the box. Another program that we've implemented at Cabramatta High School is that of our library extended opening hours. So our school library is now open 5 days a week to 5 p.m. with teacher support and tutoring available for any student in the school. Now, on any given day, we'll find 80 to 100 students staying back at school, accessing the library, the resources, tutoring the teachers to get additional help for their work. And this is based on that sometimes at home our students have other priorities that are expected by the family. They may not have a quiet place to work, they may not have the resources, and their parents may not necessarily have been educated in Australia to be able to help them unpack the curriculum, or educated to a high enough standard to be able to help them with HSC work. It's not that they don't want to, it's not that they don't dream these dreams for their students, or their children rather. It's just that they haven't had that opportunity. We're able to provide that opportunity, and it's well serviced by the students, Coming up to HSE time, it's probably oversubscribed because students are after those last minute hints, and we employ anything up to 10 tutors through the library to make sure our students have access to what any other child would have access to. In terms of professional development, one of the things we've been able to do is think differently about professional learning for teachers. We don't have staff meetings at our school. Staff meetings are about administration. They're about giving a message that can be delivered in a very different way than calling 130 to 190 people together in one place to deliver that message. What we do is every fortnight we turn over that time that would have been a staff meeting to professional learning, and we'll build experts up within the school. So at the moment I've got a team of teachers becoming experts in student engagement. They will go to conferences, they will go to workshops, they will have planning days, and they become an expert in that field, and then they share it with their colleagues through small group professional learning over a period of 5 weeks. But there'll also be work on inferential reading. We will bring in an expert for inferential reading, and teachers sign up for each term for a different topic. They'll have 5 sessions of sustained professional learning, in which time they get to practice what they've learnt, implement, research, and evaluate. And then the next term they sign up for another topic. This has many advantages. One great advantage is that it allows us to get professional learning hours ahead for our teachers undertaking accreditation, whether it be teacher identified or institute endorsed. But it also allows us to drive the school plan through professional learning. And what I'm finding is because our deliverers of professional learning are on site, they're able to access experts continually. Now, without funding, you can't do that. Without funding, I can't give people time to go and train and become experts. Or if they're already an expert, the funding allows me to give them time to plan and then present to their peers. And it's a really great change in culture for our school over the last few years, turning an administrative meeting into something that is more student outcome driven, because the professional learning then leads to increased student outcomes. One of the other really interesting professional learning programs we've got running is a second in charge program. So every head teacher has a person that is a second in charge to them, and that would happen in many schools. But in our school, I can give them a period allowance that is significant. So they're not just seen as the person that's going to do the stock take, but they get to participate in a whole range of professional learning for leadership, but also professional activities such as giving feedback to their colleagues and developing mentoring relationships, not only as a confidant to the head teacher, but also a mentor to other people within a faculty or a key area of the school. And that allows people to grow leadership and strength for a long period of time. It's not a one-day course. You don't just pop out, do a course on leadership and come back and write a CV. It's not about that. It's about becoming a leader over a period of anything up to 4 years as a real leader within the school, given real time and real professional learning and experience. And they'll have sessions where they then meet and have feedback sessions and tell what's working for them, what's not working for them. And leadership isn't grown from one meeting, and leadership isn't grown from necessarily one term. So building that capacity is really important for our school. It's important for the Department of Education in general and us as a profession. And it's also important to the students. So there are always people ready to step in leadership in real ways. We have a Year 5 and 6 Gonski is a really interesting question, because we've started on a trajectory that's going amazing places. And I know there's outcomes coming. I know that our school is getting student outcomes in real terms. For example, last year, New South Wales targeted us as a high-performing school based on growth and value added for our students. That's never been said about us before. And then Akara sent me an email to say that we were not only a high performing school for New South Wales, but we're in their top 300 schools of Australia for student outcomes. When we found out the New South Wales one, we did the happy dance. When we found out Australia-wide, we did the happy dance and a cartwheel. Because we're seeing real student outcomes. We're seeing incredible growth. We're seeing our HSC results just go from strength to strength. We've always been happy with our students and their motivation, their ability to be able to overcome obstacles in life. But now we're seeing even more results. We're seeing students perform at the same level as every other school. Last year for the HSC, 5 of my students got in the top 10 of one of their subjects. That's real equity. That's the ability to be able to say we're the same and we have the same access to resources. We have the same aspirations and are able to get those aspirations as every other student. Year 5 or 6, I can see that being even more so. I can see that being embedded. I can see that being, it's just the way it is. Not, oh, it's a little bit of money coming our way now, let's make the best use of it. It's so important for equity. It's so important to keep people on the same, not level playing field, but the same game so that everybody has a chance.